Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Felipe, your crazy creative designer from Germany. Thanks for being here. If you find some value from the video, I would love a like and I would appreciate a follow, but that's up to you. So today I'm just going to be showcasing the GSAP integration from Webflow. I'm a little late to the party. I've been playing with this for the last couple of weeks, but I'm only now have the time to make a little short video. So if you've been living under a rock, you're not gonna have heard the fact that Webflow expanded the GSAP universe on their platform. It was possible to do lots of effects before, and it is the standard and one of the most powerful engines out there to animate text and images and content in general on the web. But it was confined to custom code, and I mean, you could generate effects with ChatGPT, etc., and play with it. But Webflow is starting to use a more classical timeline that you can find on video editing software, for instance, right? For such as After Effects, Premiere, DaVinci, to integrate GSAP, and now you can create GSAP animations directly on the page with the Webflow builder, the designer. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of examples on how you can do that and how it works. Okay, so basically we have like a test website here that I'm working on, and as you can see now, you have a little icon here, interactions, and then when you go to interactions, you have the option here to still use the classic interactions, which we're used to, and you have the option to choose the GSAP interactions. I believe the classic interactions are still relevant in terms of the while scrolling in view trigger, because I haven't looked into it too much yet, but I'm not sure it's possible on the GSAP. But I'll take a peek at that and let you know. Update the comment or something. If you go to interactions with GSAP, you can play around with the settings, and then you can see what you can get. So let's take a look at a concrete example. I'm going to choose this text here, the H2 text here. Let's just make sure that it is has a class. Okay, I added the class effect, but it's classless. Let's add a class to it just to play around with it. So test effect, I'll call it test effect. Okay. And the cool thing is now you can target many elements with GSAP. I'll show you right now. Okay, so let's imagine once the interaction gets into view, the container, the slider here, or the section gets into view, and then something's gonna happen to this text. So let's choose the slider contain, or the section 3 contain, and let's say we want to create an interaction. So you have the click, hover, page load, scroll, and custom event, and click is classic. Hover, I think it's also self-explainable. Page load as well. Scroll is what we want, and a custom event is, I'm gonna save that for another time. So let's say we want a scroll interaction, and as you can see here, you have a couple of presets: fade in, slide out, stagger, fade in, etc., etc. So you have a couple of pre-made options, just like you used to have, like the slide up and similar options. If you go back to the classic interactions, right, you have the scroll into view, right, for example, then you have fade, blah, 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 blah. So you have lots of pre-made options, and some of those are not present in the GSAP version. So it's still, you can still use the Webflow animations to their full effect very well indeed. But okay, that's for another time. So scroll interaction. Okay, so now you have to think about the trigger, and as a trigger you can choose the page, element ID, class, attribute, and custom selector. So this is really cool because page, I don't think oh no, actually that's the scrolling of the page that triggers an interaction, and then you have an element, which is a specific element, like you used to have just one single element that's not a class. Then you have an element ID. Element ID is basically if you're not familiar with this, if you go here for ID, that's the tag ID basically. And then and then we have per attribute, which is really cool, and I'll show you how to use it in a second. And then you have custom selector, which is an option for another time. In here, you can see that the scope is as it used to be, children, siblings, and parent, but now we have additional options such as next sibling, previous sibling, or targeting all descendants, so all elements inside this element, so nested in this element, and stores all the elements above it, and then just the first element nested in just the first element above it, the first parent, which is really cool. It gives you lots of options. Here you can see the show scroll markers, which show you more or less how the animation behaves. Instead of top, I can choose like there you go. So you can choose percentage values, or you can choose what else do I have here? So yeah, top, bottom, center, and also you can add an offset, so you can kind of control exactly where you want it to show. I'll just go with top and bottom for now. Same for the end, and you're gonna see a visual marker afterwards. I'll show you. Scroll on scroll and trigger actions are interesting. I'll show you that afterwards. So first, you want to build the interaction. So there you go. So we have the trigger, which is triggered when this section scrolls into view. And then you add an action. Let's go for a custom action. Now we have the target. Okay, so as a target, same as with the trigger, you also get the same options to select. So you have the element ID, class attribute, or custom selector, and we can also use the same as the trigger. So the trigger element basically. And for this, I'm gonna do an attribute, which is pretty cool. So let's quickly go to the test effect text, which has a class. Let's add an attribute to it. Let's say effect, and then I don't know. Let's say 1. Okay. So there's gonna be effect 1. So if we go back to the interaction, there you go. Also, you can repeat it. You can loop it, and you can reverse it here, which is very, very cool. Okay, so actions. So first, let's choose the test effect via attribute. So I'm gonna go here to attribute. Then here I'm gonna add the name, which is effect, right? I think that we had, and then effect 1. Yeah, I think that's what we had. Then we have that effect in 1. Let me just make sure. No. Effect 1. Yeah. Okay. Weird. Let's go back. Directions. There you go. Yeah. There are no elements with this, but okay. Let's do it again. Let's create the attribute effect, and then we'll give it the value 1, which is what we wanted before. So there are no, it shows me there are no target elements. So if I go back to test effect, I'll just quickly re-add the attribute, which was, the name was effect, and then the value of 1. And now it should show up here. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, okay, so there's a warning. So what we're gonna do here is to play around with settings. So you have type, from, and to. So this is basically the, if you remember from the classic interactions, you had like the timeline, right, from 0 to 100%, and they change it a little bit. And as you can see, you have the horizontal timeline, and you can move it around, which is very, very cool. You can shorten it, you can lengthen it, but let's go step by step here. Okay, so what you want is to showcase where you are and where you want to go. So let's say type, right? So we go to from until 100. So let's say the opacity goes from 0 to 100, right? And if I click play, there you go. Then we have the opacity with a duration of 0.5 and an ease of, let's say, power 4. There you go. You have the opacity. Fantastic. And you can also use the classic values or classic animations, such as, I don't know, you're going to move it from 50 pixels to 0 pixels. All right. So it starts at 50 and ends at 0. So there you go. It comes in basically from the right. And that's going to remind you of the slide animations, right? That you have in the classic animations or fade-in animations. Exactly. So sometimes you're not going to need GSAP to do stuff like this. Can be a little simpler. And then let's say move wide. It's going to look a little weird, but let's just see what happens. Oh, I have to move it to 0, obviously. There you go. Then you get like a Z movement, right? And then scale. Same thing. You can do 0.5 to 1. There you go. There you go. And then that's a little better. Fantastic. Okay, and this is where it starts to get interesting. So I can go to animated properties and I can add all those properties again. Scale X, auto alpha, everything that you know from the classic interactions. You get here as well, like border, background. What is pretty cool and pretty new is perspective, origin, and class. So perspective to play with 3D settings, which we're not going to be talking about that right now. But very interesting is the class operation. And the class operation, it is able to add, remove toggle classes. So you can add combo classes as an interaction with a trigger. That is really cool because if you've been working with Webflow, you know there is a class adder configurator for from FinSuite, which does exactly this, and now it's superfluous. So I've been looking for this for a long, long time. So you're able to restyle elements completely differently in one go by adding a combo class with the animation or removing or toggling between classes. So that is really cool. There is a lot of use for that, just not in this video. Let's keep it simple, or try to keep it simple because it's completely new. Okay, and then in addition to those properties, you can see the repeat, which is the loop option, the infinite option, the reverse option. So you get to reverse the entire interaction in one go, which is very cool. You had to create 2 interactions, one forward, one reverse in the classic interactions panel, and now you can reverse it with one single click, which is fantastic. Saves you a lot of time. And then you get the stagger, and the stagger is how the elements come into the animation, basically. So you can set a total time or an offset time, and you can set the time per element. So let's say you want a total time of 2 seconds, and then you can add in, I don't know, let's expo in, let's see if anything happens. No, it doesn't really do anything, right? Because this is where it's gonna get very interesting. This option here is split text. This is very cool. So if we click on split text, for example, then we say split by word and mask, none. Not really anything's gonna happen. Or, yeah, okay, we had the, as you can see now, the words are coming in one after the other with a stagger time of 2 seconds, which means the entire animation, the staggering of the words, corresponds to 2 seconds. And what's going on here is the GSAP is a GSAP is kind of like dividing, the elements down to individual components. So for example, in this case, split by word, it means that the text is split into the words, the individual words, and then those words are staggered corresponding to 2 seconds. So it takes 2 seconds until all the words come in this animation. So let's do this again. There you go. You can see the individual words, they're coming in, right? In 2 seconds, which is very cool. And we can also mask it. And this used to be a pain in the ass in the old Webflow. Now you can mask and split by word. So let's see what happens here. Not much, but there you go. As you can see, it's actually very similar to Mastodon, I think, right? Yeah, in this case, yeah. So in this case, it's not going to make a huge difference because we already have the animations coming in from the left, from the right, and from the bottom. Okay, but let's play around with the letters. Let's see what happens. There you go. Look at this. Now it's splitting down into letters, and the letters come in with a total stagger time of 2 seconds. What I can do here as well is to create an offset time, which means, and as you can see, you have different elements here now in the timeline. What you can do now is to add an offset time of 0.5, for example. And then let's see what happens. There you go. Takes a while because this means basically that the go back here. That the words or the letters are coming in every 0.5 seconds, and this of course doesn't make sense here. I have to remove the duration here because otherwise it's gonna, there you go, or because every letter is coming in. Okay, so once again, of course. So it's gonna take forever, and we can't do that. But if we change this to word, for example, let's see what happens. Now every word comes in at 0.5 second staggering. There you go. And this is looking a little funky because of our easing. So I'm just going to use none for now. So we can see it. There you go. Now it's linear, right? And so you can see the individual words coming in every 0.5 seconds. Takes too long, of course, but we just play around here. Okay, now let's add the mask. And if we add the mask, then nothing changes because the words are showing up from opacity and from the moving property. Or here, actually, let me reset that. There you go. So now the animation happens according to the staggering time. So this is going to depend on the amount of words that you have. And it takes almost 9 seconds. As you can see, you can scrub the timeline, can go back and forth, which is very, very cool. I can go back to the beginning and then do this all over again. Let's play around with this. Let's do... Okay, let's remove the move X. Let's remove the scale. Okay, just to move Y. And I'm going to increase it to 150. Okay, so... And I'm going to remove the opacity as well. So what we want is the element moving from 150 pixels to 0. Let me do like that first, which is, let's play it. There you go, right? So it moves from 150 pixels in the y-axis down to 0, which is expected, right? Okay, cool. So instead of doing that, what we can do now is split the text again, and let's see what happens. So it split the text into words, and now the words are coming in from 150 up to 0 individually with a stagger effect of 0.5 seconds. And now if we click the mask element, this is gonna be great, I believe. No, actually not. What did I want to do here again? Display it by letter. There you go. Nah, let's just change the stagger time here just so we can work a little faster. There you go. And now you can see that the words, they're coming in from the mask. You know, you can see they're coming in from the bottom. You see that? They're coming in from the bottom. And it is masking, but it's very subtle, the effect. So let's change the total time to 2 seconds, for example. There you go. That's much faster, obviously. Right. Let's do 355 or something. There you go. Now it looks less subtle. There you go. And if we do actually opacity from 0 to 100, let's see what happens. I have to add the duration here. So yeah, that's what I have forgotten. Sorry about that. And there you go. That's the stagger, and that is the custom duration. Let's remove stagger time. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Okay, great. So I messed it up. No, now you get it, right? You can see it at the very end. Yeah, because of the power effect. So hold on, let me not split the text. There you go. Okay, and if we let's say 2 seconds. And if we split the text, and if we mask it by line, so as you can see, I'm still experimenting as well. Let's say a total time of 3 seconds. I just want to be able to visualize it a little better. I was playing around with that before, and I don't know what I did here. Did I mess this up completely? As you can see now, it's neither word. There you go. Staggered effect comes from the bottom. Let's split it by word again and mask it by word. So we go here. There you go. Same as we had before. Right. Alright, it was getting a little too bad. I just had to check a couple of things. So you have to play around, especially with the easing. So what I changed here, I just removed the easing for now. That's because sometimes it shows up at once or it takes too long, and then it's difficult to judge the entire interaction. So I just removed the easing here, and I just split the text once again, and then this is how it looks like now. As you can see, now it's working properly. You get the staggering effect per word, right? Which is what you want here. But let me show you how it looks like on that line. There you go. We have 3 lines, so the text is split into those 3 lines. There you go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then if we do it by letter, there you go. There you go. Then you can. It takes much longer, obviously, but it's a very neat animation. Let's say it takes 1 millisecond for each letter, so okay, that's better. That's a little hectic. Way too much movement, but yeah, just to play around with it. As you can see, it's masked, right? It is hidden. Then it kind of like comes up from a hidden place, you know. In the classic interaction, you would do that by adding a div and setting it to overflow none, and or custom code with GSAP naturally as well. So yeah, but you can play around with that. And the cool thing is you can go to the timeline, you can move the animation completely together. You can see at the beginning the custom animation with the animated properties, and then you can see the stagger time, which adds on top of it per letter or per word per split element, adds it to the total animation time. Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And now if we go to preview, show work, when the element gets into view, let's go down. There you go. Okay, see? So as I scroll, as I move, the letters come in and then they move out. So that's the while scrolling interaction. There you go. So this is working perfectly. All right, I had a little issue here, so let me do this again. Okay, so yeah, basically it's much more visual, and you can check out the markers as well here, the timeline. You can see the end and the start here, which helps you visually look at the animation. It's as I scroll through the page, I can see the animation, which is fantastic. And now the other big thing that you can do is, instead of doing the scrolling while, which is not something that exists anymore as per the classic interactions, we can set it to trigger when the element enters into the viewport and access the viewport. And so we go to the trigger class, and then instead of scroll, you go to trigger actions, and I set it here for enter. When it enters, the animation plays from the beginning, and when it enters back, so if you leave the viewport and then come back, it plays from the beginning again. So let's see how it looks like, and then I'll go to play, and if I go down, there you go. Jesus Christ. Okay, so again, there you go, working. Then I scroll past it, and then I scroll back, and My computer crashed. Beautiful. Let's do this again. And here we go. There you go. Once again, up and then down. Voila. And you can toggle between those two at any time. If you go back to scroll and then you click on scroll. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, so fantastic. Working nicely, working properly, and sorry about the confusion. In the middle, I was confused myself because I messed up one little thing and I fucked up the entire tutorial. I still hope you can get some value from that. I'm gonna try to edit that out. And yeah, so things you have to pay attention to. In the scroll settings, you get these while scrolling in view and when entering viewport triggers. You can target per page element ID, class, attribute, custom selector. I'll get into custom selector another time. I'll make a video just on that and on page as well. Also, you can customize scroll markers. That would be like the offset, I believe, from the old interactions corresponds to that. And then you go to, if you go to the actions again, targeting here by attribute or the same triggers. Remember, you have more options in terms of scope now, which is pretty cool. You have under animated properties the class operation, which is absolutely fantastic. And then you have naturally the staggering and the masking per preferred element and the beautiful timeline, which you can interact with. And I can toggle the outlines on and off here if I want to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, I'll be exploring this a lot further in upcoming projects. I've just done this twice now, but I wanted to give a look, give an overview of how it looks like, and I'll be bringing some updates on how to use it properly in next videos. But yeah, we're all very excited about that, and it's nothing revolutionary in the respect of using GSAP in general, because like people working with Webflow, I think most of them are aware and familiar how to do that, but it's to have an easier visual standpoint in interaction to focus more on the visuals instead of just having to write a lot of code and having to publish the page before seeing how it looks like on the live version, etc. So yeah, Webflow has the custom code preview now, but it takes a while to compile, etc. So it's much easier. Now it's much more straightforward, and I love the fact that it's much more visual. And the timeline, that's beautiful because that reminds me of After Effects in DaVinci Resolve. Also, other animation tools like Lottie files or River make use of timelines, and so it becomes a single unified universe to use interactions, which is something that I'm really into. And so yeah, very exciting. I look forward to how this is developing. And yeah, thanks for watching so far. Again, excuse my ignorance here. I hope you still found some value. And if you did, hit the like button, maybe subscribe. Would mean the world to me. I bring out videos on technical parts and aspects of being a creative designer. And yeah, see you next time and have a great day. Cheers.